I outworked everybody. I never had anything given to me, and I had to push and fight for everything that I've had. Being homeless as a kid, like, makes you think, I will never have a family that's going to have to worry about financial issues. The day I turned 17, I came from a pretty rough household. I moved out and put myself in public school. And I was homeless for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Wow.
And I worked at McDonald's full time. I set PE up every morning so I could take my showers in the morning so people wouldn't know I was homeless. They did my laundry. And I honestly, this is like the 90s, right? So all your buddies, they would leave the back door of their cars unlocked so I could sleep in there at night because I just had a little pickup truck. Put myself in college. I got all the grants and Pell Grants and everything I could possibly apply, and I did it. And so I think that, like, coming from a place of survival, you can't wait around for the right time to take that risk. Like, do it now. It's never going to be perfect. You got to just be terrified out of your mind and do it. And so I have always had that, like, drive to own my own thing and be an entrepreneur. And I think I was lucky enough, because of what I went through, to have that fear of risk removed.
Welcome to the Legacy Angel Network Venture Lounge, where nothing ventured is nothing changed. For Matt Helmenthaler, press 1. For member services, press 2. For real raw startup stories, press 3. For all other questions or concerns, please wait on the line in our
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Helmenthaler, and you're listening to Venture Lounge, after-hour conversations with founders and investors. These are the stories, insights, and conversations that you aren't going to find on the company website. Because the real lessons you learn in the startup world, the risks you take as an entrepreneur, the highs and the lows, the moments in your journey when no one else believes in you right before you break through, those are the moments that you just have to hear for yourself. So grab a drink and listen in to the men and women who are changing the world. Welcome to the Venture Lounge.
Welcome back to Venture Lounge. Nothing ventured, nothing changed. My name is Connor Sherman. I'm here with our company founder, friend, and co-host Matt Helmenthaler. Welcome in, like, episode number 2.
Yeah,
Cheers
episode
to
number
that.
2.
Yeah.
Mr.
Charles.
Charlie.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Let me get there.
Here we are.
Matt, tell us what we're doing here, man.
Well, today we have my dear friend, Mr. Charlie Lewis. As you guys know, we talked about this in the first podcast. We wanted to put this podcast together to kind of represent people who have gone for it in their life, people that just had an idea and they said, you know what, balls to the wall. I'm just going to kind of try this thing and go for it. And all the lessons that are learned in the midst of, like, going for it. You know, and so I think that's why our tag is so appropriate. Nothing ventured, nothing changed, and we want to just bring people in here that kind of went for it. You know, and Charlie, you and I don't know each other super well, but I think we know each other well enough that
We're cut from the same cloth.
yeah,
You can tell when somebody's cut
yeah,
from the same cloth.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you took a risk.
Yeah,
So once you have that commonality in place, and that's what I kind of tell my wife sometimes, is like, sometimes it's hard not to be around entrepreneurs because you start talking and you think everybody has taken that leap and that risk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to sometimes find commonality without entrepreneurs because you're living in such a crazy
Whole different world, man.
world.
it's
Yeah.
a whole different experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've done a lot, man. I mean, and I'm going to mention just a few things, and this clearly doesn't represent everything you even currently do. But you're the investor, founder, and CEO of Blue Wave.
Correct.
Yep. And you're the managing partner of Waterfall Ventures. Mm-hmm. And also the chairman of the Orlando Tech Council.
Yep. We recently changed the name to the Orlando Tech Community to be more inclusive of the community.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're now the OTC kind of still has the same acronym, but it's the Orlando Tech Community. Yep.
Okay. Well, you definitely should change that on your LinkedIn because I grabbed all this information on your LinkedIn.
Did I? You know what?
Asking, is this man's
You
know
know,
what?
I'm just saying.
LinkedIn
I mean, you have a lot of people that
sometimes-
work for you that could do this.
I get a lot of anxiety when I get on LinkedIn because it's like message, especially around your birthday, because it's like it's the quick happy birthdays, and you end up with like 200 of them, and you're like, all right, these are not genuine, guys. Come on, LinkedIn, please remove. If you're listening, LinkedIn, please remove the quick happy birthday button. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with
sucks.
that. I absolutely agree with that. You know what? I think people are really. I appreciate the birthdays coming from people that are not on LinkedIn and not on Facebook.
There you go. Yep,
Because they really know it's my birthday because they know me.
that's true. Yeah,
You know? Not that I don't appreciate all the happy birthdays. I had a birthday recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't just open the app and get the push notification and then
Exactly.
option button, click, happy
Yes.
birthday.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, well, you did a good job of recapping.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you've been a part of a lot of startups, and not only just as a mentor, but even as an investor and as someone who actually kind of went for it yourself.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to start with like when and why, like when did you get the bug, and what made you go for it, and just a little history on you, man. Just kind of your background a little bit, and just kind of what gave you this little bug.
Cool. Well, I'll go back even further and give you some stuff I don't normally tell people.
Love that.
Cool. Like
Do it.
I mentioned
Please.
this before, but to be an entrepreneur and to start a company, you really have to like look risk right in the face and just be like, all right, you know what? I'm not gonna let fear manage my decision. I believe in myself. I believe in what I can do, and I think that fear of taking a risk for me has always been embedded in me. Goes all the way back to when I was a kid. I was actually homeschooled growing up, and I lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I lived a little bit in Missouri and a little bit in Orlando. And the day I turned 17, I came from a pretty rough household. I moved out and put myself in public school. And I was homeless for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Wow.
And I worked at McDonald's full time. I set PE up every morning so I could take my showers in the morning so people wouldn't know I was homeless. They did my laundry. And I honestly, this is like the 90s, right? So all your buddies were driving like big boats and stuff, and they would leave the back door of their cars unlocked so I could sleep in there at night because I just had a little pickup truck. And so I think that like coming from a place of survival, and then I was told by the guidance counselor that I should just go work in the factory down the street, and I said, I'm not going to do that. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go to college. And he was just like, he's like, you're homeless. You can't go into college. You need to go make some money. And I was just like, I'm going to college. Put myself in college. I got all the grants and Pell Grants and everything I could possibly apply, and I did it. And every stage of life I have found there's always going to be somebody who's going to say, you're probably not ready or you can't do that. And you can't wait around for the right time to take that risk. Like, do it now. It's never going to be perfect. Yep. The environment's never going to it doesn't just happen that way where you're like, well, everything's perfect right now. Let's start this thing. You got to just be terrified out of your mind and do it. And so I have always had that drive to own my own thing and be an entrepreneur. And I think I was lucky enough because of what I went through to have that fear of risk removed from coming up. So,
but you're absolutely right, man. It's those, and see, and I love that you're choosing to share that with us right now, because I think so many people really enjoy celebrating your success, right? As a human being, we all, when someone succeeds, we all kind of go and we're like, yeah, great success,
good
whatever.
good for them,
right?
yeah.
But people are rarely celebrated on the journey to get there.
Right.
And celebrating the stories and the hardships and the things that actually formed this guy or this gal that actually made it and got to where they are. And so I just have a tremendous amount of respect for what you went through and how you overcame that, man. I think it's freaking rad.
And just to add to that, man, it's like you really started in kind of like a ground zero scenario. Maybe just take us step by step, how you get out of where you were I'm sure obviously it like upped your risk tolerance, you know what I mean? Experiencing real survival, but then
massive debt to get through college.
Yeah, man.
You know, I didn't have anything paid for.
So how'd you flip the script? Because that seems like a losing scenario, obviously.
I outworked everybody. I never had anything given to me, and I had to push and fight for everything that I've had. And, you know, being homeless as a kid, like, makes you think, I will never have a family that's going to have to worry about financial issues. And I will do whatever it takes to make sure that happens. And so that like hardship, I harnessed the power of that, and I used that to everything I did. I tried to do the best. So a lot of people will be like, well, this isn't my career, so why am I going to give 100% on it? You know, I served all the way through college. Like, bartended, waited tables. Another really cool story. That was what got me my job at Disney. And I was like, I got to be in the marketing department at Disney no matter what happens. So it was very goal-oriented. I'm like, I'm almost done with college. I have to go work at Disney because they're, you know, the biggest dog on the block. And if you get marketing under your belt at Disney, you can go do anything. And so because I was so over the top about everything I was doing, I was serving, waiting tables. Earlier in that day, Disney had come through town in Springfield, Missouri, and had interviewed people for this marketing job at Disney. And I realized that I was one of like 100 people that had interviewed for this job. And, you know, of course, I'm also like one white boy, right? Nobody's looking to add a newly graduated white guy to their team. I don't think that's changed. And so I'm like, well, I'm totally never going to get this job. And then I went to work that night, and the crew that had interviewed me came in and sat in one of the other servers' sections, and I go, I got to have this table. I'll pay you like $50 to take the table. And they're like, whatever, Charlie, do what you want. So I took the table, and I went over the top serving them. I was like, this and this and this. And then I like went and bought them dessert and like, pick one out, it's on me, blah, blah, blah. And I had realized during this entire like almost 2-hour dinner that they were having as this hiring team, that they had no idea who I was. So definitely confirmed I was not getting that job. And I was just like, okay. I was like, at the end of it all, I remember going up to them and handing them their bill. And I said, listen, I comped the apps, I paid for your guys' dessert. And I go, question for you guys, did you enjoy the experience that you had tonight? And they're like, yeah, you're like over the top. You are like a rock star. Like, thank you so much. You made our experience here in town. And I go, well, I appreciate that. And little do you know, we actually met earlier today. You guys interviewed me. It was like a bunch of interviews. And they're like, we thought you looked familiar. And I said, yes, and now you've had the experience of being a guest and seeing what my service can bring to you. And that exact experience that I brought you guys to dinner tonight is exactly what I will bring to the Disney company if you hire me. So please remember me, and like, here's my name. I got a call back the next day, and 2 weeks later, I was on my way to Orlando, Florida to work for Disney. Cheers. And that's how my career started from college to Disney. So isn't that crazy?
That's freaking awesome.
It's so weird. Some weird experiences in my life, man.
You know, I love those stories. You know, it's absolutely phenomenal to see how things are ordered and how things happen. Like, I mean, you mentioned Ground Zero. I feel like you started in the hole.
Oh yeah, definitely in the hole.
No, I mean, no. There was definitely a deficit there.
Yeah.
There was definitely kind of like you started in the hole a little bit.
Yeah.
I would imagine, this is just my opinion, but I would imagine that those things are just deeply rooted in you as to who you are as a human being.
Yeah.
Which shapes very much the kind of leader you are today. I would imagine. Like, you haven't forgotten those things.
No, I think that those are skills that you have to develop yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to consciously work on those skills: endurance, drive, competitiveness, and just realizing that you have to basically just be who you want to be. and nobody's going to stop you. They're going to say a bunch of crap along the way, but nobody can stop you. So, that's always been my driver, and just getting that opportunity to move to Orlando, I quickly found out big business wasn't where I wanted to be. I'm not a corporate guy. I'm like, wow, somebody's going to die in 20 years for me to get promoted. That's Disney.
Disney's not that big, man.
I mean, no, but people are staying there 40 years to get a watch and stuff. People do not move there. So I said, well, I've learned a lot about corporate America. I've learned a lot about how to work with corporate America. I'm going to go out and start doing something else where I can control my income. And that's when I got into recruiting and staffing. And I worked in recruiting and staffing for almost 7 or 8 years, moving my way up, being a hard worker, becoming VP of the last company I'd worked for, until I launched my own thing in 2014. And for me in 2014, when I launched Blue Wave, I was walking away from a lot of money. I had just had a brand new baby girl. My wife was not in a place for me to stop working and be like, let's go start a new thing now that we've got a new 2-month-old child. And she, bless her, she's so supportive that she's just like, okay, well, if you think this is a good move, you going and not making any money for 2 years, and I trust you.
I understand that. It's for those of us that are married, having a supportive spouse.
It's a game changer.
It's huge. I mean, I remember when I said I was going to start Legacy Angel, it didn't seem on paper like it was a great idea.
No,
but my wife supported me. To our wives. To
our wives. Now we definitely got to send her this podcast because I want to get so many brownie points.
But Charlie, what enabled you to step away from the money? And what was the initial mission for Blue Wave?
Well, and this is kind of a sensitive topic, just in case the guy that I worked with for so many years, which we had a really great relationship, and I think we kind of were both in the same boat. We grew that staffing company, and it was all technology staffing, right? We did a lot of contract, SOW type work and staff aug and things of that nature. And we had done what a lot of people that start their own sort of service staffing group is, we cookie cuttered a lot of the big dogs out there, like the Allegis Group and the Aerotechs and Tech Systems. And we tried to create that boiler room mentality. And I think we all discovered and have still discovered, about 7 or more years into it, that I wasn't truly happy every day, and I was the VP of operations, and so I was the only person that was to blame for this environment that I had built of overworking, burning people out. I don't know if you guys remember what it was like. Remember the movie Boiler Room, right? And it's he walks in and takes his watch off, and then he pulls his pocket and he's got the BMW, and he's like, that's a 1985 BMW. It's funny because one of the guys in my office does the same bit, but he has a 92 BMW. It's the paint's peeling on it. And he'll go into the sales team. He's been with me for 8 years, so he knows. He'll go into the sales team and he'll be like, you know what? You know what that is? Right here? This is a 1992 BMW coupe. And he drops it on the table. That could be yours. That's $7,000 today. And he gets a kick out of it. But it's the boiler room mentality from the 80s, 90s, that Wolf of Wall Street crap, it's gone. People are I want to be fulfilled in what I'm doing. Yeah. And I want to have, I hate using the term work-life balance because I don't think I have any, but the term, work-life balance kind of applies here, where people want not to be able to work to live or live to work, but they want to be able to be happy about what they're doing, have that flexibility. The pandemic exploded that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that jumped us forward probably 5 or 7 years. So I wanted the same thing. I created this environment. I wasn't happy coming in work. I had the Sunday scaries every Sunday and that anxiety, wanting to go to work Monday morning. And I'm like, I'm going to create an environment where we're only going to work with cool companies that I like. We're actually past that now. We're big enterprise stuff now. But in the beginning, it was, if I don't think they're doing cool stuff, then I don't want to work with them. And that slowed us down in the beginning. But I think that the passion for what I was doing enabled us to really grow a good brand and scale. So anyway, so that's kind of how I got into starting my own thing in 2014. And that's when I also started investing. It was in 2014. So we can go two routes there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of want to touch on both a little because the people that are going to watch this are they're new investors, like Brevard County. Like this used to be, someone's not gonna like that I say this, but this used to be the place where good ideas came to die, right? That's kind of what our community was known for. Like this was not a startup community. And it wasn't, and there's so much innovation here, and there's more engineers per capita than anywhere in the country.
It's
all
an
of
amazing.
That stuff. Yeah.
There's no other region in the entire country that's like it is over here.
I mean, the IP that flows through this county, it baffles me. I barely can scratch the surface of what I know. So there's so much potential here, but this was the place where good ideas kind of came to, came to die. And so a lot of investors are from this area. They're just now kind of coming on to the investment scene.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them have a ton of questions. They have just what do you look for? How do you get started? How much of my income should I or my reserves should I put towards this type of investing? And people have all kinds of questions like that. So I would love for you to dance in that space a little bit. Yeah. But also dance into hey, no, there are founders that are going to watch this and be like, yeah, I kind of want to go for it, or I am going for it. I'm struggling. It's tough.
Yeah. So the good news is, just for this region is you can now start something anywhere, right? You can get your workforce. You can have a distributed workforce. You can bring people in. You can kind of take advantage of what you have here, like your high concentration of engineers that come from the Space Coast per capita, right? And so it doesn't matter where you are anymore. Right. But educating investors, we got into the investment game. I always kind of would start things on the side and see where it would go. But Blue Wave was really a true leap. I quit my job and I started it. December 8th, I quit. December 9th, I started Blue Wave. And I went into office on the 9th. It was crazy. But at the same time, I had saved up a lot of money and I used a lot of that capital for Blue Wave, but I still had a little bit more. And, I had my mutual funds and I had my 401k and money in the market. And I still had a little bit left over, but not enough that I'm going to buy an apartment complex, right? And go into that business. But enough that I could pool $15,000 or $20,000 personally with a few other accredited investor friends. And we could maybe go in and acquire some equity in a company. And so we started kind of shopping around. And, we did our first, probably 8 of us, accredited investors, not really formalized, right? We were just, we all kind of knew what we were doing and we're good in our respective careers. But we ran across a company called Fat Merchant, which is Stacks today. Mm-hmm. We invested, I want to say, $140,000 in their seed round, which I think their seed round was maybe 400. I don't know. Snare will probably kill me if I get the numbers wrong, so I won't say the numbers. But we were 140 in the seed, and then we came back. They invited us back for an A round to do a follow-on investment, and we did about $350,000 in their follow-on. So we were north of 400, and I got really, really geeked out by that first deal, and I was like, this is something I understand, because you can have influence on your investment and the outcome of your investment because you can help these companies out. And that's really where the most value is. Don't be just a passive investor. What can I do? You know, I'm an expert in talent acquisition. That's what my company does. So leverage me as your VP of talent until you can afford one down the road. Yep. Johnny over here is a CFO, and this guy over here has made a exit that was over $100 million. So he's going to be able to tell you how to get to second stage capital. And so it's that network of expertise partnered with the capital we put into the companies that really mitigated a lot of the risk of the investment. And that's where the angel and seed syndication space is really powerful.
Yep.
Charlie, and I think what you're describing is community first investing, like investors that are doing it together.
It is. Yep.
Now, is there a difference between what you were interested in looking for in initially as an early investor versus being a seasoned investor now? Like, what are you looking for in companies? What do you think the difference is there in your behavior and mentality about the companies you're?
You learn a lot of lessons. We've invested, I want to say, maybe close to 20 deals or so, pretty actively since about 2016. Waterfall Ventures investments. We haven't always been called that. You know, it was Blue Wave Investments, and then I brought in a managing partner to help me out. And so Waterfall Ventures investments today, we've deployed close to $5 million in just the past 12 months over about 5 or 6 deals. We like the early stage stuff. We get a better deal. You know, sometimes it'll be a convertible note at some sort of cap on conversion or safe note. But yes, I think we've placed a lot of money, and now you get to kind of see how those stories play out. And as those stories play out, you learn a lot of firsthand lessons. And I think decisions that I will make in the future with regards to what I've experienced, that I won't do certain things where other groups might, just because of the experience. Like we did an investment. We didn't syndicate it. Another group did, but our group came in with them. And you know, the CEO had been brought from a big mergers and acquisitions environment into this small little startup. And sometimes that can work if they have that experience, but in this case, it wasn't a proven person that can ride through the grit that it takes to overcome some obstacles early on, because they had been in such big environments, and they had an open check that they knew how to do deals, they knew how to raise capital, but they didn't know how to overcome those pivots you have to make early on. Sometimes you have to like redefine your whole company just to survive.
Completely.
Right? So I now am very picky about where my founders are coming from. And it's all about the founders.
Yep.
It's all about the founders.
Yep.
Do they have the, you know, if I hear a founder has been homeless and made it, I'm like, I'm all in. The fact that you're here right now, let's do this.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot. I look at their story and their background and their ability to overcome adversity and learn. And that's what really gets me excited once I find the right people. And then you back in all the information.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, man. I mean, people is what it's all about. I mean, at the end of the day, especially with the kind of investing that you guys do, the kind of investing that we do, we don't just like invest and hope for the best. I mean, we invest and we want to go down a path.
Yeah.
And so we want the relationship. We want to be able to trust the people that we're going down this path with. And I mean, for me, like numero uno is, you know, when I'm talking to someone, before I care about like anything that they're doing or why they're pitching me, do I trust them?
Yeah, that's a big piece.
Are they slimy? Are they kind of are they dodgy? You know, who's in their ear? Like who's on the journey with them? Who do they trust? Like, you know, I always size up the people first, because you can fix product, you can fix process. It's difficult to fix people.
Yeah, it is.
You know, so you know, yeah. So I greatly respect that.
And you know, and you're not always right every time.
No.
I mean, I'll sit here all day and talk about all the wins we've had so far, but there's a lot more L's when it comes to early stage investing.
Yeah.
And you know, going back to what you were saying earlier, like why would someone that has a significant amount of wealth, maybe in real estate, why would they consider this type of investing, right? I don't need it. Well, we're going into a year where the markets are a bloodbath, right? So you can't even rely on the public markets. You know, the lending interest rates right now are like, you know, buying real estate, you're just going to be paying interest if you're leveraging debt.
Yep.
So I think we're going to be going into a big year of people saying, well, how do I get involved in companies at a real valuation, not this BS we've been dealing with for years, but a practical valuation with the right person solving a real problem that is still going to be able to thrive in a downturn in the economy. And then how can we leverage our network and our connections to help them after we place money with them?
Yep.
And I think that's what's going to be so huge about 2023 is I think angel investing early stage is going to be one of the best bets in town.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Venture, everything's overvalued. Public markets. I mean, of course, it could be a depression. So, have you heard the joke about, is it a recession or a depression?
No.
So, a recession is when your neighbor loses his job, and a depression is when you lose your job. It's like, right? It's
that's great, man.
Very practical.
Got him. That's good. Yeah, it's good.
It's just a recession. Johnny will find another job, and then you get the call, and you're like, okay, this is real. I'm depressed. I'm out. Anyway, so that's the only joke I have for recessions.
No, I love it.
Charlie, man, so let's fill in some gaps, dude. You went from, homeless to central figure in the Orlando tech space. It's like there's a lot of gaps to fill there. Like, tell us about some of the other stuff you're involved in. What's it look like?
So, the investment syndication stuff has been just cruising along. Really everybody that has joined in the investment group has been people that I have known in the community, a lot of accredited investors. And then, Blue Wave likes to do a lot to try to give back to the community. And I think I've told you this before where, I have this philosophy, if you just try to do good things and like help and create a community and create culture and deals just happen.
Yep.
And so I was like, there wasn't a lot of people that were doing, there wasn't a lot of people that were like unifying everybody. It's very verticalized in Orlando where everybody kind of has their own little thing that they're doing.
Yep.
And I wanted to do something that would bring all of the masses, at least from a tech perspective, because I like tech investing. Blue Wave is all technology driven, like we work with SpaceX and Disney and companies like that. On their technology side. So I really wanted to create a community for the tech enthusiasts and entrepreneurs. And so many years ago, probably like 2016 or 17, I partnered with these guys from Pandora Systems, and we started a group called Orlando Tech and Beer. And my team put in all kinds of volunteer hours to help grow the group, and we ended up, being kind of like the de facto tech organization in town. We would have an event and 450 people would show up.
Wow.
And so I did that for many years, and then I launched a thing that had more of an investing side of it instead of just having happy hours and stuff. And that was Project Orlando's, projectorlando.io. Connect, market, and fund the local Central Florida ecosystem. And we launched that in 19, and then the pandemic hit, right? And so it's like, it's going to be really hard to do anything, much less just keeping my, I had like 3 businesses going at that time. BioWave was blowing up, Blue Wave was like crashing-ish, and some investments were doing okay, but starting a philanthropy-type ecosystem driver in the pandemic wasn't going to work. So we got creative. We partnered with Starter Studio, and the only real big event we did that year was a drive-in pitch night. And so we had the city partner with us, and we got this huge parking lot in downtown Orlando, and we raised enough money to put up a big blow-up drive-in movie thing, and we zoned all the cars and pointed them all at this big screen. We had about 65 cars, and all of them were loaded with people. And we were right in the middle of the pandemic. And 9 companies all pre-recorded their pitches, and we played them up on the screen, and the founders were up on a stage in front of the screen so they could ask questions. and we broadcasted the pitches through FM radio in everybody's cars. And then we had an app where they could real-time ask questions of the founders while we stood, a good 15 feet away while they were up on the stage. And we hosted a pandemic pitch, like
That's
outdoor
so rad. Yeah. That's so rad.
pitch. And the winner of that pitch was a company called Home Lending Pal. And then ironically, I ended up doing a syndication for Home Lending Pal, and we did about 1.1 million investment seed stage in HLP. The lending rates have greatly increased, so they're going through that
Just a little.
it's a struggle when your product is democratization of mortgages. High interest rates are not good for your startup. But either way, they're finding a way to pivot and stay alive, and they're doing pretty good. But I learned in that, I'm like, you know what, the community will do whatever it takes to be able to continue to rally for this ecosystem. And so I think it was after the pandemic, the Orlando Economic Partnership and Tim Giuliani and a few other folks asked me if I would consider being chair of the Orlando Tech Council, which was then rolled in under OEP as a sister entity. And so I said, okay, and stepped into that role. I think I took over as chair beginning of 22. And they've asked me to stay one more year just to really push some of the programs that I put in place and the structure. They wanted to do 2 years, have some consistency. So that's what I'm doing now as far as philanthropy is we're trying to be the biggest technology community group in Central Florida. I think we're achieving that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think when you just put it out there and do things for people without any sort of immediate reciprocation of what you want, everything kind of falls into place.
Absolutely. I definitely believe in people first. Like we just did a fundraiser for a local group here, and this particular group helps moms, single moms who have come out of desperate situations. And the amazing organization here locally, and we just helped raise $50,000 to buy them a new van.
That's great.
And it's but it's like that's not. It's not anything you're going to see on the company website. It's not something that we're not going to go on social media and hey, look what Legacy Angel Network did. You kind of don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. You just be there for people, do things for people, do good. Kind of lead by example, and people want to be a part of stuff like that.
They do. It's reputation building.
Yeah,
and I think Blue Wave has benefited a lot. I would say a lot of the companies that we work with today were really a direct result of us selling, not so much all these other things. I think where it helps, if you're looking at where does your business benefit, is it kind of validates the trust level. Mm-hmm. Because if you are genuinely giving to the community and doing things that are going to lift everybody up, people like to do business with those type of people, and that's where we've seen the benefit. I don't think it really always converts to a sale per se, and I'll continue to be involved in whatever ecosystem thing is going on that I think moves the needle for the region, because when my daughters get out of college, I want them to, if I'm still here, right, which I think I will be, I want them to be able to look at Central Florida area and be like, okay, this is a thriving, growing ecosystem that has entrepreneurial opportunity. There's a lot of enterprise I can work for, and be able to set their roots up here and not have to go to a market that beat us because we didn't step up.
Yeah,
I think that we have an opportunity all the way from Orlando to the Space Coast.
Yeah,
you and I talk quite a bit, and I think there's a lot of collaboration in this area.
Yep.
So I think I think anything that benefits your community is going to ultimately help business, whether it's short or long term. Just good. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, man, I absolutely agree, and it's something that I think that just my opinion. I think that the general community doesn't understand is that the reason why we're going to get companies here to kind of move here or to start here, it's them, right? It's if we can set up active ecosystems in our own communities where if you need IP, yeah, we can handle your IP. If you need staffing, we got your staffing. If you need industrial design, yeah, we got your industrial design.
Yep.
If you need the funding, yeah, we have your first, second, and third stage funding. If you can set up those environments, and you have a community around it saying, yeah, we're here for it, we're all in. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. We're gonna have a nice, sweet little protected bubble in the Central Florida and the Space Coast area.
Yeah, especially if you're putting the region first.
Yeah.
I know our Angel Syndication Group, we've done a couple things out of Florida. Maybe some, like we've done some deals in Tampa and things like that, but we prioritize this region first. So if you're a startup going head to head to a group that's not in town, they've already got a couple extra points over you because it's our backyard.
Yep.
But yeah, I really do think that this is a turning point for this entire Central Florida area. Like where we are right now, we already had a mass migration here, which I wouldn't say it's like because we're so awesome. Like Melbourne, Orlando benefited because really they just benefited because all the other states were really crappy during the pandemic. Okay, so we were just hoping that when they moved to Florida, they'd pick our town.
Exactly.
So either way, for whatever reason, they're
You
here.
ain't wrong, man.
They're here.
You ain't wrong.
They all moved here, so we had this huge mass migration into our region and our area, and we can either harness that and turn this into a very competitive environment, kind of like you see in Austin, kind of like you can see in like Boston, and even Atlanta has a lot of stuff going for it. I don't want to get into an incentives conversation. That's not what I'm talking about.
No.
But this is an attractive place to live.
Yeah.
It's fun. If you have kids, there's Disney World and Universal and all this stuff.
Right.
The beach is here. You guys are at the beach.
We are at the beach. Yeah. No.
Like I can almost
Yeah,
see
we're
it
right.
from
We're
here.
right. Yeah.
It's a cool place to be.
It is a cool place to be.
And there's rockets that launch like every freaking week now. And so the people that have come here really came here because it's a good place to live and a good environment. So bringing everybody together helps all though. Helps grow your region.
No, absolutely. I definitely think this is kind of like it's become a little bit of the land of opportunity.
Yes.
I mean, the state definitely is doing its part, but if you think about cost of living and you think about job opportunities and you think about the support systems and structures that are in place here for companies, for new companies,
Dude, the concentration of talent is
crazy.
insane. It was interesting because through David Adelson and I do a lot of work together. He's CIO for OEP. And we really launched this brand for the region called the Meta Center. And basically the Meta Center is harnessing all these different groups that are already here, like our photonics and our AI. And we're going to have a superconductor plant here soon. And we've got all the gaming and AR, VR stuff. And a lot of that is talent that comes out of like the UCF and some of the surrounding universities. A lot of them are ex-rocket engineers that go to start their own company. But the concentration of talent here is kind of like a hidden secret almost. It's like you go to Miami. If you're starting a SaaS company in Miami, I'm going to tell you the first thing you need to do is at least set up your dev team in Orlando because it's like you're going to overpay for them there.
100%.
There's not a high concentration of them like there is here. So it's like there's a lot of talent.
Yep.
And if you've got a good product and a good idea, you're going to have that support here to do it at a reasonably cost basis, right?
Right. And I think too, in your world and in my world, and several others kind of around the state, doing what we do, making sure that those companies can get quality service for a lower price is not only good for them, but it's good for our investors, right? So we know that when our investors invest in these companies through our connections, we're going to take that dollar, we're going to stretch it a little bit further than if they just went and tried to figure it out on their own.
Get a little bit more runway.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's that valley of death that the startups have to encounter. And if I think I'm explaining it correctly, the valley of death is you've raised your money, you have to show traction, hit all these milestones in your company before you can appropriately go out and do like second stage or VC funding. Sometimes you'll have a bridge here and there, but a lot of startups die in that valley of death that we're 10, 12 months past our A round. We should have had X, Y, and Z done, but we couldn't because we, didn't realize how much it was going to take to get like a SOC compliance. Or, something will just sideswipe you and cost more than you anticipated. And now your runway's that much shorter. So you can survive longer here. You don't have to raise as much.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
My wife and I moved from Ohio, so we're like new to the area. We're visiting family down here, and then met Matt and saw everything that they had going on with Legacy, and just walking in blind to everything that's going on here. I mean, we have like a design and kind of content creation background, but seeing all the people coming out of L3 Harris and SpaceX that have their own ideas that are really, complicated products, like people walking through the door with full patents, it's really cool to get to partner with people like that who, like you're saying, are in a phase where they need that community to kind of like further the product, you know what I mean? It's just wild, like, we are excited to have like kind of a complementary skill set to them where, we know nothing about the engineering side, but I heard somebody say once that like a lot of founders, it's like trying to read, like for their company, they're trying to read the label from inside the bottle kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like they're so close to it. The product is so complicated that it takes like that other set of eyes for clarity. You know what I mean? And I think that's exactly what this area is fostering, is we have this community of people that are willing to like be those eyes. And,
and that's something you brought up something a second ago where there are a lot of engineers that are really good at what they do, right? Like, I don't know anything about being a rocket scientist.
Yeah, same here.
And there's a ton of them around here, and they have a lot of products. I remember I was talking to a guy the other day that had created this. It was like a sensor in a wearable, right? It was some cool wearable technology, and he had been the guy that created like the astronaut monitoring bracelets.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, that stuff in your Apple Watch, he's like, that's IP that we were using like early 90s on the rockets. That's where it came from. Yeah. And he's like, it's so old. Like, I don't even know why everybody's like, oh, it's the greatest. I can get my heart rate. But I think what's crazy is there's so many engineers.
I feel so lame now. I mean, I just like.
Oh, I know. We're like, that's so cool. Look at that. Look at this can do.
I feel like a loser.
Yeah. And they asked.
Well, every time Apple releases a product, they give us like an extra 10 pixels on the screen. Like they're really like kind of slowly stepping us up, dude. I mean,
it's actually beeping me right now. It's like it's actually annoying, is what it is, and I guess also antiquated technology. But I think a lot of those folks having a group like what you have here with your network and this angel group is like they don't really necessarily know how to launch an enterprise product or some of the marketing lessons that I've learned, nor have built the network that we can leverage for. All right, here, we need this type of a CFO at first just to do some pro forma, and here's how you need to create your deck so that you're attractive to second stage investors, and here's the things you need to focus on, and here's a roadmap, and like, here's how you get talent. I don't know how many companies, the first thing we do after we invest is I sit down and do like, let's do a talent workshop. Like, how are you going to hire? And you can't hire Blue Wave yet because you can't afford us. Right. So you're going to have to do it on your own. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So I think that it's, when you have a place like this, it's a resource center, you can take those engineers, those rocket scientists who are making cool stuff and have an idea or a patent and say, I do what I do. How do we now fill in the pieces to make this a scalable product?
Yep.
take it to a commercial. So that's the part where I putting the pieces together. I love it.
Yeah.
It's cool to see because then I'm like, I wonder what this can become.
Yeah.
And you know, we invested in Stacks or in Fat Merchant back in the day. We exited probably 18X or something in 2020. And now I think Sunira has a documentary that's being released today. I was supposed to be at the thing at 1 o'clock to do it, but she's like a success story.
Well, this is far more important.
Yeah.
This is far more important.
Way more important. 100%.
On record right now.
Yeah. So I would have been like, can we just fast forward to the part that
I had
Sunira's
no
on?
idea. I would have been like, don't hang out with us losers. You need to go to that. I didn't know.
They didn't have whiskey. So,
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
that was a deal breaker.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But you know, it's really, really cool to be proud of that and see that and say like, you know, good for her.
Yep.
Man, and she's like on a Netflix thing now, and
Yeah.
we helped her get there.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. It is super fulfilling to watch you're a middleman, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I get to do every day, and we're still like, you know, we're a little bit ways behind you guys as far as like getting things rolling. So it's, you know, we have a couple of companies on the verge of our first like really big successes and stuff. So we're really excited about that. But every day beyond all that, just to be able to stand in the middle and bring worlds together
Yeah.
to solve a problem is, I think it, I mean, for me, that's that's why I love doing what I do. Like that to me is so much fun.
I mean, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but you're kind of building your legacy with these.
See what we did there?
Yeah, it just hit me. Yeah. So it's you're building your legacy of the things that you've touched.
Yep.
And you can have a job and you can do whatever, or you can like make an impact and then have all of these people out there that are being successful and be like, they hopefully had a little bit of a push from us along the way, which is something to be proud of.
I think, do you ever, sometimes I like in our room here, right? We have our little lounge here for our members and stuff. And sometimes I'll just kind of sit in the corner, actually in that corner chair back there, and I will just look at the room and watch people connect. And I always think to myself, I hope I can never quantify the amount of success that comes out of just building this community. Like I don't want Legacy Angel Network, the entity, to be able to go and be like, oh well, yes, we did that. You know, I want people to build such profound relationships around this type of work that we can't quantify, that our children will talk about it and that our children's children will talk about it, because it just keeps the evolution of it keeps, you know, kind of, you know, going and continue. Do you ever, I mean, you have 125 plus angels now. Yeah. You're building all this other community outside of the investment world. I mean, like, do you ever think about that?
I get really proud of like my team, you know, and there's a, you know, because I am an entrepreneur too, and you know, I sold a company about a year ago that I had on the side, and I have something in stealth mode right now. But my main company, you know, employees, 125, 130 employees today, all W-2, is Blue Wave. And seeing a lot of my leaders come up and like take ownership of things and do things way better than I could have done, like makes me super proud.
That's awesome.
Right? And to see them earning a lot of money and to see them growing. Same thing in the Orlando tech community is I will be an instrument in putting some structural and programs and things in place, and then you'll see something happen that you didn't touch, but was something that kind of launched out of what you had. And whenever it goes without you and you don't have any impact, you go, okay, now things are growing.
Yeah.
Now things are starting to like snowball and get traction. And that's where I have those moments where I'm just like,
because that's
makes
that's,
you feel good, man. Makes you feel good.
Well, that's culture creating stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is when you set one little thing in motion. It honestly, what I've seen, sometimes it's just a phone call.
Yeah.
You made a phone call to this person and you just made a connection. That's it. That's all that you did. But then everything just goes whew. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's not. Believe me, it could be a pride and ego thing. Really, it could. Sometimes it is.
Probably is.
But there are other times where it's like, there's a purity in just watching something happen that you couldn't do, that had to happen because those other people got together, but you just had a little part. You were a little piece of a very large puzzle.
Yes,
and
that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is on the ecosystem building.
Yeah.
We deploy a lot of capital, but so do a lot of other groups in town. We're just a piece of the puzzle. And I celebrate and get excited about seeing anybody that's crossed our path be successful and grow, especially in our region. Seeing other groups that are investment groups that have wins. I love seeing that too, because that just means that we're maturing as an investment community, that there's more options. You can pitch to more people, Yeah. And you need that because, you might not be a fit for our group, but you could be a fit for this group over here because they like something about your company. So, I think, I do think that I think a lot of it boils down to like the things that I do. I pay a lot of money to be a part of them. I think like I help fund the tech community, and I think goes back to just giving without knowing what you're going to get or caring. And then genuinely being happy and celebrating wins and successes, it'll come back to you. That's just how it works. It's just karma.
It's cool, man.
And I genuinely get excited to see wins. When I'll have a group that I've worked with, or maybe I've mentored them or talked to them, and they'll be like, "Dude, guess what just happened?" And then I'm just like, "That's freaking awesome!" That is so awesome to hear.
I love it.
So
I love it. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are I don't think we've asked this question, but like, if you could offer a couple pieces of advice to an entrepreneur starting out, clearly like there's pitfalls, there's all different kinds of things. There's stories. I mean, I could go into all the stuff that I've been through to get to be here where we are today with Legacy. But what piece of advice would you give to an entrepreneur starting out, trying to like get through these first stages, and then on the other side, what piece of advice could maybe you offer some investors that are new to this type of investing?
Well, a lot of it can be connected with like fear. Yeah. Like you can't, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be a successful investor or run a successful startup company or even start something, you have to just decide that you're going to embrace fear. Yeah. It is a crippling thing. People go, how am I going to feed my kid? How am I going to make my mortgage? How am I going to pay for a car? There are a billion things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So how hard are you willing to commit yourself? Like that, taking that leap isn't going to come with like a bunch of guarantees that you're going to be okay and you're not going to have struggle. But the good news is you will overcome them. Right. Like you will 100% overcome them. So don't wait. Some advice to someone considering launching: don't wait. Like freaking do it. I mean, get your ducks in a row, right?
Right. Right.
If you need to leverage like a 2-week launch period, do that. Take your money, save it, launch whatever. But don't wait. Don't wait, because it's never going to be a good time.
Right.
Ever. It's never been the right time to do anything that I've done.
It is crazy how many people I hear say that, or we've heard at this point, like, you just think it would be like capital or the timing or something, but it's just fear, So just to get specific with that, like, is there a specific, experience or mentor or anything? Like, what do you attribute to getting over that yourself?
I mean, again, my wife was there and was like, I believe in you. I think 7 people believe in you. Building some mentors. I tend to try to be around people who have, if as much as I can, who have done bigger things, made more money, think bigger than I do at all times. Like if the second I find myself like surrounded by like too many like-minded people, I go, oh boy, I'm not growing right now.
Cheers
So I think a lot of it is about having a bigger mindset and having that mentor. And I play that role sometimes more frequently than I probably should, but it's like, hey, I'm telling you to take the leap. Let's do it. Let's do it. What are you waiting for? And then I check in the next week. What's going on? Why are we still what's going on? Let's do this. And then once they do it, it's like euphoria. Like at first, and then, then they go through like panic about 4 months in, and then like it's just all like this such a phase of what happens. But I think it's like there's a lot of different tools that you can leverage to try to overcome that fear. But I think as long as you feel like you've got people who've got your back, you can make the jump and you'll solve all the problems.
That's gold.
From an investor perspective, this isn't that scary of a space. And it's not that high risk when you come in with a strategy.
Yep.
And a strategy needs to be, don't come in here and just do 1-2 deals. Come in and do 10 to 15.
Thank you.
You have to.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
You got to do like 10 to 15 deals.
Yes.
You're going to come in here, you'll maybe, join you guys for like 3 investments that you were super pumped about, and they all crash and burn. You're like, it's a terrible investment strategy is that early stage. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. It's, you try to mitigate risk as much as you can when you're vetting the deals, looking at the founders, looking at the market potential, how are you going to scale, what's the use of funds, blah, 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 right? All the DD stuff.
Right.
But I would say it's more predictable when you're doing, say, 10 to 15 investments over a, call it 3-year time period. You can almost predict an ROI on that of some sort of multiple more than you probably can a public market right now.
100%.
Because the public markets are just, first of all, they're manipulated.
Yep.
And they are crap right now because everything's overvalued. So go in, work with a group, set the valuation at a reasonable amount, give them the tools and support they need to grow, and then do a dozen of those, and then in 5 years, decide whether or not it's risky. It's not. It's
everything you just said is so freaking true. So like, I mean, what you just said about the capital markets, right? I know people right now in Manhattan who can pick up the phone and steer a stock price
100%.
like that. I mean, up or down, whatever they're told to do, they do it with one phone call.
Of course they do it.
Yeah, and it's
in their interest of their hedge fund.
It's a little, and I was talking too. I mean, I know a lot of financial advisors. By the time they're getting the information, right? People have already made their millions.
100%.
By the time these financial advisors are getting their information to make other people have already made it's crazy.
Now, I am by no means saying don't invest.
Agreed.
In capital markets. I have a lot of money there too, right?
Yeah.
It's a diversification philosophy.
Yep.
The only thing that I'm saying is take that disposable income and play with that 10% of your disposable.
Yep.
And come up with a strategy. Say, okay, let's say it's 10% disposable income. Let's say that's maybe $100,000 a year disposable, right? Just for round number's sake. And so now I'm going to make a commitment that I only invest $25,000 to $50,000 a year until I've hit 10 to 12 investments. And just stay consistent. Don't get too excited about anything because you'll end up doing like, 100,000. I think it's like consistency, 25,000 or 50,000 or 100,000, whatever that number is. But have like a strategy to get you to a dozen investments, and you got to vet them and make sure you're comfortable with whatever it is you're putting your money into, and you can pass on some deals. But that I feel like is how I've stayed consistent. And now we have, our portfolio value is in the black right now. If you look at what our equity valuation is for what's converted. And we've already made an exit in 2020, which is we're hoping to do so in the next 18 months with one or two others. But we're talking about one or two others.
Right.
That pay for everything else.
Right.
So I think going into a down year, going into like a recession type environment, if that's what it's going to be, or stagflation is what they're calling it, right?
Yep.
This is actually going to have an uptick because you actually know what you're buying,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
And you don't have to worry about what the interest rates are doing. You don't have to worry about overvaluation of some of the public markets. And so I think it's a good spot. It's part of a strategy.
Well,
Charlie, awesome, man. How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you or find out more about what you got going on?
LinkedIn is my friend and my enemy. So you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Charlie Lewis. Or you can always email me. And I think maybe getting a hold of your company is a good way to make sure that you vet them. I don't want a bunch of marketers calling me if I give my email address.
Well, what if like if someone from the Orlando market, right? They or even hell, I mean even from our market wanted to join your syndicate too.
Yep.
The best way to reach out to you is through LinkedIn or to call one of your folks.
I prefer if there's someone that wants to invest and is interested in seeing some of our deal flow. Because we are an angel syndicate group, I like to know everyone.
Nice.
So I think if you want to pass their info along and make an intro,
Cool.
I'll do coffee or lunch or just really get to know that person.
Nice.
They also have to verify that they are an accredited investor.
Yep.
I can only work with accredited investors.
Right.
But I know everybody in our group.
Cool.
And I think that if you know the people that you're doing business with, then it just makes business that much safer and more fun.
Love it. Well, Charlie, man, thanks so much, dude, for coming out and chilling with us, man. I mean, just the wellspring of knowledge that's come and like wisdom from like your experience is definitely felt and appreciated. I would ask too, I would love for you to consider to like come back when we start doing some series on some other things and maybe coming back as one of our folks. And if there's a company that you guys are doing some stuff with that you want to introduce to the markets, to the local area, we'd love for you to bring them here, and we'll do the same thing. We'll sit down, we'll have drinks, and hear about some of the stuff you guys got going on.
Yeah, that, and you and I have talked about a lot of sidecar and co-investing together on some really good deals that we both have been looking at. So let's continue talking, man. This is great for the community.
All right, awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Charlie, cheers,
Thanks,
man.
man.
Blessings.
Cheers.
Thank
Charlie
you.
Lewis, everybody.